Welcome to the A to Z of Talent with your hosts, Andrea Kirby and Zhichuan Lim. Hello, and welcome to a new episode of the A to Z of Talent. I'm Zhichuan Lim over here, and beautiful co-host, gorgeous new hair, Andrea Kirby. And today we're going to welcome Joel to have a chat with us. It's going to be a very interesting chat. Usually what we do at A to Z of Talent is we discuss or introduce new tech ideas and people that may show you a new way to deliver talent. And we hope to challenge the way you think about recruitment, talent attraction, and management. So also a quick hello from Gamarago land, which is a little bit different to our usual hello since I'm over here in Sydney. And a little bit different today because we're not really going to be talking huge amounts of tech, but definitely some interesting ideas around skills adjacencies and career changes, which, being a lot of us being in TA, we are surrounded by people who are doing career changes, but very few of us, maybe a lot of us do career changes ourselves, but we never really talk about it. So I'll pass over to Andrea and she'll introduce Joel.
Hi, everyone. So many of you will know Joel Broughton. He has been in the TA world, either agency RPO side or internal talent, for quite some time now. Like me, he has the grey hairs to prove it. Yeah, I know. You are looking more and more distinguished every day. Now, Joel's going to make a bit of a career change. So we decided that it would be good to sort of reflect on some of the things that's been happening in TA, but also talk to him about why the career change and what he's doing next. So, Joel, why don't you just tell us a bit about you for the folks at home that don't know you?
Well, firstly, thank you for that lovely welcome and calling me distinguished. I think I look more and more like Tom Hanks from Castaway every single day. So thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me. So I guess I've been working in TA for 28 years, and as Andrea said, I've been triple threat agency, RPO, and in-house for that period of time, and have moved between those three spheres of TA, and done everything from an individual contributor in an agency through to working in a global role in RPO, and having some amazing experiences. But it's time to call time, and I guess this is why we're here.
But you're not old enough to retire just yet, then.
I'm neither old nor rich enough to retire.
That's the challenge, isn't it? That's the challenge. So Joel, I'm sure you've been asked this question a lot over the last little while. But why the change? What's the inspiration? What's the catalyst? And where are you moving to after such a long and distinguished career in the TA space?
I guess it's about going back to what I originally wanted to do. So let's take the cat out of the bag. So I'll be going to become a secondary teacher. And it's something that I thought seriously about in my teens and in my early 20s. And then when I graduated from university, back before most people working in TA were even born, there was the economic situation here in Victoria was that schools were getting shut down. We had a premier then who was closing schools, selling those schools to property developers. Teachers were getting fired. Young teachers couldn't get work. There was no stability anywhere. So I worked for a little bit in engineering and then kind of moved into TA, and I was just like swept up in that career, and it was such a fantastic career that I had, just so many amazing opportunities. I met my wife through the industry, a lot of friends from the industry, as you'd imagine, after spending so much time there. But there was always that. Not regret. It was more like a kind of a stone in my shoe. Like there's a potential career that I didn't have that I always wanted to. So the time was kind of right. The last couple of years, it's been kind of gnawing at me and getting louder and louder. So took the opportunity and jumping in.
That's amazing.
And it's a tough time to be in TA at the moment. And you and I had a talk about how, there's so many bright young things coming through. God, we're going to sound very ancient by the end of this. Maybe it's time that we just get out of the way and let these people shine.
Yeah, and Andrea, I've been so fortunate to work with some amazing people throughout my career, and I look at the teams that I've led, and some of the skills in those teams. I think, man, you guys are so good at what you do. You really like the TA sector is in really good hands with the next generation of people coming through. Like when I started off, CVs were posted in from newspaper ads, and then faxes came in. Like this is how long I've been around. We didn't even have an ATS. We had filing cabinet with people's CVs in it. That was how we were recruited. I look at what's to come and the people who are going to lead that, and I know that the industry is in really good hands with the skills of the people that are coming through. And like you said, it's probably time for me to get out of their way and let them go.
I think it's been one of the joys of my job is traveling around the country, seeing very, very clever TA people. Yep. So let's talk then. So you're going to move into education, and one of the things that's huge at the moment that everyone's talking about in talent is around skills and skills adjacency and skills hiring. And, we're looking at internal mobility and promotions and finding those adjacent skills to help identify potential new jobs or careers for people to move into. And we're seeing fantastic tech like Go Figure and Rejig start to sort of, pull some of that stuff out as well. So you're currently the general manager of talent acquisition with all the experience you've had to date. What have you noticed about what some of those skills are that may link to TA, from teaching to TA or TA to teaching?
Yeah, look, it's a really interesting question, and I think that teaching, from what I understand with my thimbleful of knowledge about that, change careers completely. Teaching's a long way from where it was when I was at school, where teaching was more about, was almost more about lecturing. So a teacher would come in, would stand at the front of the classroom, would talk and write on a blackboard. And we'd chisel away on our little slates, really, to try and take down all the notes. Where teaching now is more about seeing. So I'm going into secondary teaching, so seeing the students as young adults who are forging their own path, and it's about guiding, coaching, mentoring, rather than telling. And that's what TA is all about, right? So, particularly, I was going to say particularly in-house, but it's the same with agency recruiters as well. You can sit there and you can tell hiring managers how it needs to be, but at the end of the day, the hiring manager is going to make their own decision about how it ends up. So there's those people skills, those skills around mentoring and coaching. They're exactly the same, the same. And TA professionals are really good at pretending, and I think teachers are too.
I know that all of my son's teachers spend a lot of time pretending that they think.
And TA people are exactly the same, right? So I think that there definitely some synergies there. Like I think if there's a Venn diagram between TA and teaching, there's a lot of skills you use as a
it's
TA
quite
professional.
My son's in year 9 going into year 10, and being quite open about his challenges around education. Can run like the wind, but can't do school at all. And what's fascinating is how much time the teachers these days spend around, well, what are your interests and what are your motivations? And, if you're going to do an assignment, let's do it in a way that's of interest to you. So, a lot of stuff around that whole finding the right job for someone in an organization, I guess.
Yeah,
And
exactly. And just those questions that you said that the teachers are asking him are really important, because you'll remember that when we were younger, Andrea, you'd always have, an uncle or an auntie say to you, "What are you going to do when you grow up?" It's just the wrong question. Like the quality of the question determines the quality of the answer. So if you're asking a question like that, it really kind of focuses someone on this narrow, and it gives them a sense of pressure and stress. Gee, as a 15-year-old, I've got to work out what I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And it's not bedded in reality.
And I did articled clerk recruitment in a law firm 100 years ago, where we printed off the CVs off the ATS because you couldn't email them around at that point. And I used to sit at Christmas time on the beach looking at CVs. But every interview, without fail, the articled clerk wanted to do law since they were 7. It was this magic age. And I think these days there's a lot more challenge around, well, what is it that you want to be? And we're watching Tom go through lots of ideas at the moment. Olympic athlete right at the moment is right at the top of his list.
Understandably,
Yes.
He runs faster than I can drive.
And it is tricky, right? Because I think these days they feel like there are a lot of options, and sometimes it is the paradox of choice, especially for the young people to decide. And we'll talk more about it a bit later on. But I think when we think about teachers, one of the great thing about teachers, and I don't mean to disrespect any of the teachers who come straight out of uni straight into teaching, but teaching is an opportunity to impart some of the life experience as well, right? So if we have more people who move into teaching a bit later in the career, they also can, it's diversity to start with, right? Which really helps, and we can get some different perspectives in front of the students, right? So we're not just career teachers who've been teaching, for 40 years, not just young teachers who've just come straight out of uni, but we've got people from industry now, right? Going back into teaching, or going into teaching for the first time even, but bringing a whole different life experience and life journey to the conversation. And I think, the students are definitely going to benefit from that experience.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Z. And I think one of the things that certainly people who are later in life bring to teaching, well, there's probably a couple. So the first one is, like, someone like me, I've had teenage children. So not only do I know what it's like to be a teenager myself, I've also raised teenagers. I live with a teenager now. So I kind of understand as best as I can what it's like. But also, what you get with age and maturity is an understanding of nuance. And again, there's another synergy with TA. So there's a lot of nuance in TA. And it's the same with, like, a lot of early talent acquisition professionals say, I've got to go and find everything on this list because the hiring manager has told me that they want this. So there's no kind of nuance in that. It's very, very blunt. But as you get more experience in life and you get a bit older and you've got a few scars and bumps and grazes and so forth, you can perhaps see through that list to find some of the nuance. So you, as a teacher, you can also see some of the nuance in what it's like to be a teenager and how they interact with each other, and some of the nuance in the learning content as well. And you can perhaps bring that to life a little bit better than just having a blunt tool.
Yeah, definitely. And I really like your earlier comment, Joel, about, you wanted to do this since you left school, going to teaching. This timing didn't seem to be just quite right back then. And when you think about it these days, it is insane, right? Like if a premier was closing schools or selling the land to developers these days, they would be out really quickly.
I'm not sure he lasted much longer after
he didn't
that.
last very long.
Well, there you go. But
I voted him out.
Yeah, I see him on my morning walks, and he's still just as angry as he was back then.
I know which premier it is now. I think it comes, but what you mentioned reminded me of purpose, right? So I think, deep down within you felt that there is, this thing you should be doing, and it kind of identified quite early on. But maybe the opportunity wasn't there, timing wasn't quite right, and now there's a chance to actually, you're lucky enough to be able to make the change, and kind of like follow the calling almost.
Yeah, and look, and I think that TA has enabled me to be kind of lucky enough to be able to follow that. Like, the career's been absolutely fantastic, and we've worked really hard to be successful, I guess.
Yep.
And it's created an opportunity for me to do that. But there's also been, and I don't want to sound all woo-woo, but there's a lot of kind of messages that I pick up from the universe about, you know what, Joel, you're in the wrong spot. You need to be somewhere else. And I've been listening to that for a while, and I think there was something pretty big has happened to me this year in regards to some road trauma that's kind of really made me think that there really has to be a different path for me. It kind of I opened up my mind to the possibility of going back to the start and perhaps having that journey that I maybe missed out on.
Yeah, which is amazing. It's really good. It's good to take that opportunity, while you can, and just explore what it's like. So, what is it like? And any tips for people who are thinking of making big changes to their career? I did something very similar to yourself maybe 4 years ago now. So, while I still am a director, or I'm a director at Talent Tech Solutions, still very involved in talent acquisition, my main job, if you call it, is running a taekwondo school. So, it's a very big change. It takes certain kind of craziness to do it. But any tips? What tips would you pass along to someone thinking of making, big changes to their career?
So a lot of people say life's short. Life's short. I'm kind of the opposite. Life's long. There's nothing that you do will be longer than life, right? Nothing. Yeah. And I kind of think it's too long to be doing something that you're not happy with. It's like your life is too long to be miserable and too long to be unhappy. So make the change. Like, no one's going to make it for you. You've got to kind of do it yourself. And just because you make a change doesn't mean that that's permanent as well. Like, you can change again if you want. If you're not happy doing that, be happy. Keep making changes until you are.
And we know that people are likely to have that 3 to 7 careers in their lifetime. And again, going back to my article, Clark Recruitment, you're almost recruiting them knowing in 3 to 4 years, despite wanting to do law since they were 7, the vast majority of them move out of it and move into project work and, all sorts of amazing. I follow all of my little babies from that time, and they're all off doing the most amazing things in NGOs as well as corporates, as well as starting their own business. So it's about being open to the opportunities, I think, that present to you. And being brave. There's a certain braveness here.
Courage. Yes, definitely a certain braveness. It builds to pay, right? And
I think courage is courage is one thing, but also listening to people. Like, you're surrounded by people who you trust. Like, I was talking with a very close friend of mine who was in one of my teams in the Philippines, and I was saying to her that, look, I said, this is what I'm planning on doing, and I'm really scared and really nervous. And she said, "You've always been a teacher, Joel. You just haven't realised it."
Yeah.
And I just thought, well, these are people who have been providing me with this like for years. They've been saying to me that this is who you are. It doesn't really matter what job you're doing. You're still a teacher.
Yeah.
So I hear people like that, and when I've told kind of my inner circle, and then I kind of expand that circle out a little bit and tell people, overwhelmingly the response I get is, "Oh yeah, you'd be a great teacher. We can tell." You know.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree. I'm watching my son's teachers, and we're lucky enough to be in a school that's 50% male and male teachers, and having male teachers in the profession for young boys these days is such an important part, and I think you're going to be amazing at it.
Thank you. I hope so.
Yeah. And so, look, we've got lots of VCE, HSC students eagerly waiting their university entrance exams that'll come out in 2 weeks. What advice would you give to students that are trying to choose what courses or careers to pursue? Because actually, I was going to say, because like you, I wanted to be a social worker when I left school. And I was a church youth group leader, leading a very sheltered life, still had a curfew at 11 o'clock at the age of 18. And my auntie, funnily enough, who was a social worker, said, go out and see the world and come back to it if you think you can still do it, which I, of course, never did. Again, I think you could say TA could be a bit like social work, but joke, folks.
Say that explains a lot, Andrea.
Taking care of all my cherubs. But yeah, so, what advice would you give to young people these days?
So there's probably 2 things. First one is take the pressure off yourself. Like, don't feel as though you've got to have an answer to the question, what do you want to do when you grow up, as a 15, 16, 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 25-year-old. I think after doing this job for the best part of 3 decades, I think that most people don't really know what they want to do until they're about 30. Like, the frontal lobe doesn't even develop fully until you're about 25, right? So, and I think firstly, cut yourself a break. Like, don't think you have to have an answer to that question. And then I think there's an order of priority that I think a lot of people get back to front. So I feel that the order of priority is go after things that you enjoy, number 1. Number 2, go after things you're good at. And then number 3, go after the things that'll make you money. And I think that people, they get that around the wrong way. They say, I want to go and be a lawyer because I want to be a partner in a law firm and make $5 million a year because I want to have a really nice house in a really nice suburb and a holiday house and all those sorts of things. But they're chasing the wrong thing. And then they'll find that they're 45, mortgage to the eyeballs, kids in private school, whatever. They lose the ability then to make a change when they really want to.
Yeah.
So that order of priority, that's something I've always told my own kids. Go after what you enjoy. That's got to be number 1. And don't worry about the money. Like, the money will take care of itself.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think that's probably those 2 pieces of advice.
Oh, I love that. I absolutely love that. And you're right on that, being 30. I started my career in HR when I was 30. And until then,
you didn't know. You go, I like this. I like a bit of this. I like a bit of that. And so getting like, if you feel as though you have to go to university, and like, university is great, education opens pathways and opens doors and all those sorts of things. Of course, I'm going to say that. Like a good solid general degree, arts, science, law, something like that. is great to have. It's great to have because then you can go off and, your postgraduate becomes your specialisation then, unless you really, really know. And I think the people that, in my experience, the people that really, really know what they want to do are people that are in those highly specialised roles where the knowledge is an inch wide and a mile deep. So people like engineers, people doing medicine, those sorts of things. But most people don't become those things. Most people become something that's a bit more general. Just cut yourself a break.
Yeah, I think there's too much pressure on kids these days to be and do something.
Yep.
And I say the same thing to Tom every day. I don't care what you do. I just want you to be happy. Choose happiness over everything.
Yeah, life's too long to be unhappy.
Yes, the rest of it takes care of itself. It always does.
Yeah, imagine being 80 and looking back and go, I've been miserable for the last 60 years.
I think I've met a few of those people.
And I like your point about, sometimes if you choose, a certain lifestyle, chase the more monetary goals perhaps, then you almost get locked into that world, right? You don't have that freedom to move out. Even though you are making X billion of dollars a year, but your expenses match. So it limits your opportunity to do actually what you really want to do, right? If you have that, if you've discovered that, sometimes you do have to try a few things, find out what you don't want to do as well, right? And kind of works the other way around. I tried these things, really did not enjoy that, and stumbled into something that
turns out I'm not a computer salesperson at all.
And you fail fast, right? Like I think that's why the failure rate at universities is so high in first year, because people go, well, I want to go and do this, and they do it for one semester and they go, there's no way I want to spend the rest of my life doing that. I'm going to go and try something completely different. Which is great.
Which is perfect, right? That's what you want to do. Try a few things, explore it, really understand. You kind of you give an outside view before you actually do something. Then you get in there, and once you're in the muck, you're like, I either like it or it's not for me, right? And it just doesn't sit with you very well.
Oh, we are three very wise people, aren't we?
And good looking. Don't forget that.
And what?
Good looking.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that goes without saying. They can see us.
So, how much more study have you got? When do you switch to teaching?
It's 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, two years. So it's a longish road. It's a longish road.
Oh dear. All right then. Well, I think we need to wrap it up there. We're hitting out this week. We're actually hitting the 30-minute mark.
Yeah, on time for once. This is amazing.
I know. God, we do love a long chat, don't we? So everyone, we hope that you've got a lot of value around talking about career choices and perhaps making major life changes from, one of the patriarchs of the TA community. Joel, we wish you every success in what you do. We want to stay in touch with you. You've been a dear friend to many of us.
Absolutely.
So thank you for your time. And everyone, thank you for listening to the A to Z of talent. And if you enjoy our show, you'll also find it on Spotify, and we'd love you to share it with your network and rate it. And be sure to come back next time. And I can't give you the time frame because Z and I are terrible at organising things. For the next,
soon.
It'll be soon. We're trying to tee up a time with someone at the moment to have a chat with them. So, but thank you everyone for joining us.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Joel. It's been really good. Really enjoyed the chat with you. Speak to you later.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.